Okay, picking up where we left off, we talked about formulas. So we started with the automatic guy. For example, we didn't actually type this. Someone else, programmed it so it automatically did a sum. But let's say, for example, I don't want sum. I want the average here for the sales rather than sum. Would that be kind of cool? Well, instead of just doing it over, I can just edit this guy. I can actually go into here where it says sum and type out the word average. And for some reason, it's not AVG. You have to spell out the entire word. Okay, I've edited this guy, and I'm just going to hit the enter key. Doink. And so now the average sales. Now, remember how we did this before, where I drug a column across? Remember? Well, I want to do the same thing here. I don't want this to be the sum of that column. I want it to be the average of the column. So I can do that again. I can grab this little guy. Instead of pulling it down this time, I'm pulling it to the right. And I grab this guy and move him over and doink. And now I have an average rather than a sum. So all I did was just alter the guy. So far we've done sum, although the machine did it for us. We've done average. Okay, that's pretty cool. And we've done some very simple math where you're subtracting the value of two different cells that are kind of adjacent. Not bad. I'm going to start over with a new spreadsheet. We're going to do something a little bit more complex. So before we leave this, guys, these are the sheets. So there's multiple spreadsheets in a single workbook. So this is book 1. That's the name of the workbook. And we're on sheet 1. Well, I don't want sheet 1. So I'm going to right click and rename this sheet to make something more sense. And I'm going to say, I don't know, third quarter. Okay, that makes a lot more sense, right? Cool. So here, I'm going to go to this other sheet. So I just clicked on this little tab to go to a new sheet. And this new sheet, we're going to be talking about, I don't know, salesman. So I'm going to rename this salesman. Okay, cool. So let's envision what this guy is. So what we have is we have a date that the sales took place. We have the salesman's name. We have the product that he sold, the quantity that he sold, the unit price, and the total. Whoop. Total. Okay. So those are going to be my headings across the top. Alright, so I'm going to enter a date, and you can enter the date in practically any format. You can enter, 4-July, 2014. And it's smart enough to figure that out. Or I could type in, 6, I could type in, 6/12/14. And it goes, okay, I know what that is. Now, to be honest, you ought to use one particular format, but hey, come on, give me a break. You can type in dates any particular way you like. So let me just go ahead and throw some more dates in here. So 6/18/2014. I'm going to go ahead and do this one over again. In fact, I'll change him to 6. Yeah, let's just do 6/4/2014. Okay. Oh well. I guess we'll have to show you that part. Doggone, I was trying to get away from that. So I'm going to light all these guys up, and I want to change the format to one particular date format because I don't like multiple formats. And so under here is one called short date. Doink. Now they're all using the exact same date format. So once you've got a format, if I was to format this entire thing, like, go all this far, right? Because I'm getting ready to put stuff in there, and go to short date, right? Now that I've told it that way, if I go in here and say, 7-4/2014, it's going to automatically convert it for me. So in the absence of you telling it, it's going to do whatever you want. But once you've told it a particular style, then you're good to go. Okay, cool. So this guy's name is Bob, and the product was kumquats. He sold 12 of them, and I'm just going to type the $sign because it's going to figure it out. They're 0.33 cents each. Okay, so they're 33 cents a piece. So Jane sold some computers and she sold 2 of them, and they were $1,267.44. I forgot to type the dollar sign. Doggone it. Let me do that again. 1267.44. So right off the bat, the machine is smart enough to know that these are plain old integers, so it picked the general type. It knows this is currency, so it picked the currency type. It knew these were dates, so it picked the date type. You're generally okay. Now, I'll admit there'll be some scenario. Let's say, for example, I have a product that, okay, so, I don't know, this is Sally, and there's a product called 12, okay? So I just type a 12 here. It's going to say, well, that's a number. Well, it's not. It's the name of this thing, okay? So she sold 2 of these guys, and, I don't know, they're $4 a piece. Okay. So how do I make the machine say, that's not exactly a number. I really wanted you to treat that as text. So how can I force it to do that? Well, you could just change the formatting. That's one way. But that doesn't actually solve the real problem. If you want this not to be a number, there's this cool thing you can do. Is at the beginning of the line, you actually put the apostrophe, the single quote, whatever that thing is right next to the enter key. A little single quote. Now, I see it in the bar here, right? I see the single quote, but as soon as I move past, doink, it's no longer a you can see it here in the formula bar, but you can't see it in the cell anymore. Okay, so now I've told it this thing looks like an honest to God text. Okay, now let's do one more. So this is Bob again, and Bob sold, I don't know, a bicycle or whatever. And he only sold 1 of them, and it was a $600 bicycle. Okay, cool. So right off the bat, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off this formula. And so the formula is going to be the quantity, regardless of how it's spelled, the quantity times the unit price. Okay, that's what this formula is going to be. So I really can't go over here because there isn't one of those that says, hey, formula is, quantity times unit price. There ain't one. We're going to build one. So, all formulas start with an equal sign. Yeah, cool. Equal sign. So, instead of typing E2 times D3, like we did last time, I'm going to click on the cell. See how it filled in the stuff? Now I can type times, and in the computer, the times key multiplication is the asterisk. And then I can click on this guy. Isn't that pretty cool? And then when I'm done, I just hit enter. Okay, so 12 of these guys at 33 cents a piece is that. How did we do this last time? I grabbed this little guy and drag him down. Doink, doink, doink. Boom. Okay, once again, there's not quite enough room here, so I'm just going to double click on this guy. Doink. Okay, so now what I've got is a formula that does multiplication, and because we drug it down, it automatically knew that that was E2 and E3 and E4 and E5. It automatically knew when we drug it down, it translated the formula as we drug it down. So that works pretty doggone cool. All right, let's do a couple more. And that is, I want to know, for example, how many days between entries. Okay, how many days between each sale? Kind of weird, huh? So what I want to know is, I want that date minus that date. Okay? Now that's going to be a little odd. So let's just go here. So what I want is, I'm starting with equal sign, this one minus, I just hit the minus key, this one, hit the button. Doink. And it's telling me there's 8 days between the 6th of June and the 8th of June. So if I grab this guy and drag him down, I'm going to drag him one cell at a time. Okay, so there's 6 days between the 12 and 18. I'll drag this down. There's 16 days between the 18th and the 4th of July. And what happens when I drag it here? Well, what happened? Well, what's happening is, let's look at what the formula is. This is A3 minus A2. And this one's going to be 4 minus 3. This one's going to be 5 minus 4. This one's going to be 6. Ooh, I don't have a 6. So 6 minus 5 is some god-awful number. So in order for this to make sense, I really kind of need to put some sort of a date, like today's date or whatever. So I'm going to add a date on here just for no particular reason. Okay, does that make sense why I had to do that? Because when I have a formula that's going vertical, when I get to the end, I might run out of data. That wasn't the case here. There was always data for me to use. But when I'm going vertical, I could run out of data. That kind of makes sense. Okay, kind of, sort of. So let's do some more. So this is number of days. And here I want to do how much money I sold per day. So this would be sales per day. Okay, sales per day. So what would sales per day be? Well, that would be equals, because all formulas start with that. It would be this total amount divided by, so divided by is the slash key, days. Okay? Doink. So I made less than $4 in 8 days. That's 50 cents a day, right? I want to grab this guy and drag him down just like we've been doing before. Doink, 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 doink. Okay. So $600 in 4 days. That's how much sales per day. Pretty cool? Cool. All right, let's throw in some extras. Let's say, for example, instead of having, when we did the sum and all that, we did it all kind of adjacent. What if I just smack dab in the middle here, I wanted to have something that just says average sales. Nowhere near the rest of it. So average sales, and then right here, maybe on this next square, I wanted to. So I'm going to do this manually now. Okay. So average sales is going to be, and I'm going to spell out the word average. Average. Now instead of doing the selection, I'm going to do this all by eyeballing it. All right. The average sales would be the F2 plus F3 plus F4 plus F5 divided by 4. Okay? Well, the average, I don't have to do that. So how do you enter a range of values? Well, you do it with the colon key. So the average would be starting with F2 colon, which means now I'm starting with a number and I'm getting ready to go to some other number, going to F5. You see how it lights it up and shows you? Now I do have to close the parentheses here or it'll complain. Dunk. Okay, so I've done a formula by hand. I've done it completely automatic. I've done it where I did a combination of the two. I started out with it being automatic and I've gone in and tweaked it some more. Alright, let's tweak this guy up some. So before I'm going to light all this stuff, I'm going to make it bold. I'm going to make it centered. I'm going to make it, instead of the pukey green, let's make it blue for no particular reason. Alright, let's spiff this up a little bit more. I'm going to light this guy up. I'll leave off the last date. And I'm going to hit the little button here to turn on all of the borders. Cool. And now I got a halfway decent looking guy. Now, when I picked unit price here, it couldn't figure out that sometimes I wanted decimal points and sometimes it didn't. Isn't that kind of weird? Now it did here. It figured it out here, but it didn't quite figure it out here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tweak this formatting to tell it that I always want to be currency. So I'm going to go here and just hit currency, and that'll force it to come up with the number of decimal points. Okay. For things like this, I could change the decimal point by lighting this guy up, and just this little guy right here means increase decimal point and decrease decimal point. In this particular sake, it's not going to make any sense because they're all whole numbers. Okay, so this is probably a good place to stop. We'll finish this thing off next video. Hang in there. We're almost done.